All right, I think we got Dawn coming in a second. Here she comes.
Hello.
Um,
Sorry, I'm going to cough. I haven't got anything, but just
good. I'm glad you're all right. Morning.
morning.
It's what episode number is this? Do you know?
15, 16, I don't know.
17.
Yeah, 16.
17.
17?
Yeah. April the 9th. Do you know
Oh
what
my
day it
goodness.
is? Do you know what day it is?
Yeah, it's Thursday. I should think by now people will be bored of us.
Well, after this number of episodes, yeah. But we've had more feedback than we've ever had for any episode after yesterday.
I do not know what's going on. People have, they should be out enjoying the sunshine, shouldn't they, in their gardens?
Well, perhaps they did, but lots of engagement, which is brilliant. But anyway, I'm glad you've had a nice morning, nice shower, done your hair and everything else. Well, I've been cleaning up dog poo in the kitchen, putting it in a bin and finding plastic bottles in a black bin, coming back in to find Oscar's then nicked some treats out of his cupboard and he's in the garden with them, going crazy.
Well, he's a dog. What do you expect?
So a bit chaotic here this morning for me, but I'm glad you're okay anyway. Right. We're going to start with the feedback.
Hold on a sec. My computer's trying to restart.
Oh.
Sorry.
You're right.
It had 3 seconds to it. My computer would have just shut down and restarted, so that would have been the end of the meeting. Sorry.
I've got a Mac update message come through. Maybe it's something to do with that. Anyway.
Yeah, I probably pushed installed or something. No, don't worry.
Okay, well, you stayed with us. You didn't have to reboot yourself or anything. Right. Feedback. Angie Crush highlighted a book by Phil Knight of Nike that people might be interested in called Shoe Dog, which she says is really good, which I've heard of. I think I gave it to a friend at Christmas actually, but I've never actually read it myself.
No. I made a note. I might order it.
All right, it's a long one. I'm not sure it'd be up your street, to be honest. What's your favourite book? What's your favourite book?
Well, I'm much more into romance.
Yeah, go on then. Go on.
I do read sort of like technical books about athletics, but that's about all. And obviously, I read rule books, etc. So no, I don't really have a lot of time to read.
Answer the question then.
I'm not going to.
What was your favourite book? Or author? Your favourite author? Come on, you're always reading various ones. The delivery vans are, one after the other. Every day are delivering all these books. Go on.
I'm not delivering books.
Sometimes.
I haven't got a favourite author.
Give us a feel. Give us a feel, so to speak.
No, I'm not going to give you a feel. Ridiculous.
I'll dig them out and show the viewers perhaps tomorrow. All right, what you're into. Nothing too bad, to be honest. Right, podcasts. I remembered myself. I was listening to Colin Murray, At Home with Colin Murray, which I enjoyed, with like the Brownlee brothers, which is a good interview and a nice podcast that I've listened to. I forgot to recommend that. There's plenty of others on the thread and Facebook comments, so have a look at that. We were talking about athletics yesterday, weren't we? And
yes,
more interesting. Andy Poppleton came up with some ideas where got to think outside the box a little bit. He came up with things like shot putters performing at the Kent County Show, throwing watering cans filled with cement. What do you think of that?
Their backs might be hurting. I'm not sure that's a good idea, but it's the sort of thing that needs to be done. He's right. We need to think outside the box, and people should be looking to improve meetings rather than run them in the same old way that has been done years and years. And so that's what I just think it needs sort of new blood and more understanding of where an athlete is coming from, really.
Yeah. I think my conclusion was Andy's losing it a bit, to be honest, but there you go.
I think it was a tongue-in-cheek comment, Mark. I don't think he was deadly serious. Well, first of all, you have loads of animals running around. They could get walloped with a boot or a cat or goodness knows what else in his.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest, we haven't got that many throwers, have we? So we're quite lucky at the moment.
No, my worry was all getting all these watering cans filled with loads of cement. I take it wasn't solidified cement, otherwise it'd be a waste of watering cans, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Is that your only worry?
Lots
You
of,
can't see anything else, like people getting hit on the head with a watering can?
no, there'll still be officials there making sure health and safety and everything are okay, I'm sure. But anyway.
Oh, right.
And then Hubert again from Canada, British Columbia. He was talking about your points about, and mine actually, about officials in sport and trying to engage with the younger ones. He seems to have given up a little bit on that because the younger generation have got other priorities other than officiating at sport. And he thinks we ought to tap into the great number of retirees and draw them into the sport to get involved.
Well, there's a slightly twofold problem there. One, if you're in the retiree, it depends when you're retiring. You could be 75, and that means that your time spent training, etc., and actual officiating is limited. Whereas the problem with the youngsters scenario is that they're having to go out and earn money to sort of like, make a living and sort of like do the things that they want to do. And so from my experience of being young, you've never got a lot of spare money. So, I mean, from my point of view, the sport has to decide, if we want loads of people to come into the sport, then you're going to have to sort of like think, should we pay these people to do this job and be officials? And then that opens up the wider sort of like thing of, if we pay them, then we have to pay everybody. A lot of us don't actually do it for money or reward. It's because we love the sport. So it's a very difficult subject to sort of like find an easy answer. But I'm sort of like at the point where a lot of like the lifting and things like that, it's hard for somebody who is sort of like older. You have to shift hurdles, etc. So maybe we could bring people in to help run meetings and do that legwork or something like that, and then they're not like an official, they just know what they've got to do, and then that can be sort of like sorted out, and then instead of having a Saturday job, they could spend their summer doing that.
Yeah, very good points. I agree with a lot of that. That's good. And we heard newcomer to the feedback, Dina Evans from San Francisco.
Yes.
Good to hear from Dina. She highlighted something that was very surprising to me about how in America they come up with very good systems for results and presenting events, athletics events she was talking about particularly, of course. But one thing I never realised, Dina was saying that in high school sports, track and field or athletics is the number 2 sport for boys to American football, and for girls it's the number 1 sport. And Dina was questioning, she didn't quite understand why that didn't feed through to the adult section of society over there and creating a wealth of fans for the sport. So they've got slightly different issues over there, but interesting that in high schools that track and field athletics was so popular, because there's a lot more money involved in schools. Clubs and adult events were piggybacking on the back of their facilities, and that's why there was a lot more investment in some of the systems that can make an attractive meeting. So that was quite interesting to me. And then Graham Saker and Steve Fury were explaining about the university process over there, where old boys and girls, or alumni as they're called in the States, donate a lot of money to the sporting facilities. So if you've got 1 or 2 multimillionaires as alumni who are interested in track and field or minority sports, then they can get a lot of investment from that. So that was quite interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, the system is completely different from over here. I mean, I think every high school has some sort of track or facility, don't they? Near enough, or they have something that they can use that's nearby. We're not. I mean, we're lucky in Tunbridge because we piggyback on Tunbridge School, so we're really, really lucky. But I suspect a lot of clubs haven't got that luxury, and that is the problem, isn't it? I mean, because number one, you need good equipment. Two, you need obviously people who are passionate about the sport to help put these events on, etc. But fundamentally, if you're doing it at school and you're getting good I don't know, coaching at school, etc., and you've got the facilities, you're going to produce more high quality athletes, is my way of thinking it. And that's why America have got so many. They've got the depth, haven't they, really? But then if they've got a problem, where do they go if they're an adult, etc.? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just apologies to some viewers who aren't interested in our sport particularly, but we're just going off on a little bit of a tangent. We'll be back to other matters in future episodes, but quite a lot here. Feedback happens to be about athletics. But Grazia Manzotti pointed out last night she's got parents in northern Italy, and she's going to come report back a little bit more from the on the ground situation up there. But her parents felt there was a little bit of improvement in northern Italy in terms of the coronavirus at the moment, and a little ray of hope there. So that was good news. So thanks, Grazia, for that. And then I got some huge feedback from probably our greatest fans, Pat and Dave Adkin, stuck in a flat now together for about 4 weeks, I think.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Pat.
Got nothing better to do than critique our episodes, and really, you can imagine them having these debates afterwards to put the worlds to right. And Dave came.
Anything that helps. You can't knock it.
Dave gave some. He only comes on the phone. He won't put it in writing. He wouldn't want his thoughts reproduced anywhere. But Dave had a really, really controversial point of view. First thing he came up with, we're talking about officials and athletics, is guess what?
Get rid of them. I don't know. I haven't got. You tell me, for goodness sake.
Well, you're a scruffy bunch. Back in his day, everybody had nice, smart uniforms, all dressed the same, looked the part. Now
I don't make the rules.
They all rock up in all the right mishmash of kit. They don't look as smart as they used to.
I totally agree with him, but I wasn't an official at the time. But yes, they used to have these smart. I've seen pictures of them. They all used to look smart. I must admit, when we did the Worlds, we all looked smart because we all looked. I mean, apart from the fact that it was pink, bright pink. It's a difficult one. The main thing is it's knowledge and doing the job correctly, I think, rather than it's not a beauty pageant.
Just as well. I always think the standard official's uniform, I'm talking about the men, is a white shirt with some egg stains splattered down front because their sandwiches have spilled.
Or coffee stains. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Dirt, you know. That seems to be. But anyway,
wow.
Thanks for that, Dave. He also went on to talk about the difficulties with encouraging new people into officialdom. He thinks it's a bit cliquey at times. He's been really hard-hitting and controversial here. Courses should be more attractive for getting more people onto. And if you do get involved, as he's done with a bit of timekeeping, for example, you shouldn't be made to feel inadequate. So
I agree with his points. I mean, my approach is that you shadow someone with knowledge, you learn, and it should be from someone who's a qualified official. It should be tolerance and and above all, encouragement.
Okay, good. and he finished off with, I think, 3 questions for you. You ready?
Oh God, I'm going to cough. Yeah, go.
All right, first one. If you weren't involved in athletics, what sport would you have done and been involved with?
Well, both of us or just you?
Both of us.
Well, you go first, because then what you're doing depends on what my answer is going to be.
Well, one thing, having been team manager in athletics for some time, I wouldn't have minded, in hindsight, having a stab at team managing in football, soccer,
Right.
just to see whether.
Is there such a word as soccer in England? I thought that was an American word.
To see if the intricacies of team management, tactics, and everything, I could lend my hand to that, and I quite fancy
Oh,
it.
goodness. Well, we might have had a bigger house.
So, bearing in mind my answer, would you have liked to have been a Lions lady?
No, I'll just be the ball girl and the water lady.
Well, have you got an answer for Dave? He's itching to know.
What other sport would I do? Do you know, I'm quite sort of like, I like a lot of sports. I probably I'm quite interested in something like, it's not going to make a lot. Well, it's a difficult one, because basketball, netball, that sort of thing.
Right, okay, that'll do. Right. What was your first car, and what would you have liked to have owned?
Well, that was easy. I owned a Mini Cooper, and I wasn't really much bothered. I probably would have, I mean, when I was younger, when I was 18, I probably would have wanted a Porsche, but I'm not really that bothered now.
Okay. Well, mine was a Vauxhall. Is it Vauxhall Viva? I think it was.
Yeah, they were Vauxhall Vivas. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a yellow one, and I blew up the engine on the motorway once.
That's probably because you didn't like the colour.
Yeah. So that was my first car. And when I was about 6 or 7, I always said I'd like a Mercedes. That was my dream, but I didn't specify the model. But I never got one. So always had Japanese, being a bit more reliable, perhaps. I don't know. And finally, Dave says, Dawn, this is to Dawn, not me, wants to know about your favourite food to make as well, because you're famous in Kent for making cheese straws.
Yes.
Is that your number one recipe, do you think, the cheese straws? Or what else would you say you particularly would offer?
I like cooking generally. I mean, I started cooking when I was about 12. At Easter, I used to make the hot cross buns and things like that for my mum and all sorts of things. So it's just something I enjoy. And so therefore, I really haven't got a favourite recipe. What I like is to evolve. I mean, I'm someone who will try almost anything. But I mean, the reason I do the cheese straws, everybody seems to love them. Don't ask me why, I haven't got a clue. I never make them for us, do I? So no,
well, I say I give you terrible wind, don't they? I always warn these officials that like the cheese straws. They're very tasty, but there are consequences. But just to finish off, if you were going round to Pat and Dave's house to serve them up a splendid 3-course meal, you'd start with a few cheese straws. What would you cook them?
What would I cook them? Oh, I'd probably do something like butterfly chicken breasts with onions and mushrooms in a creamy sauce, and then I'd have broccoli and maybe a few carrots on the side. And then for pudding, I love puddings. I would do, I don't know, I'd probably, my favourite, what used to be called a charlotte, where you put sponge fingers around the bottom and you mix cream and bananas, and it's very light. It's nice. I can't remember the name of it.
Wow. Well, Dave will be salivating now when he eats this.
But this is just because it's Dave and Pat. It's not. I wouldn't do that for everybody, but I would certainly do that for Dave and Pat. In fact, after lockdown, Dave and Pat, you will be invited round for dinner. Bless you.
Lovely. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Dawn. I expect we've gone a record amount of time. I've got no idea how long that lasted. Apologies again, everybody, for the athletics bias. Let's get a bit of feedback on other stuff for tomorrow and hope you all have a good day. Thank you very much.
Bye.